In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to be teaching you how Shelby actually makes 5 million with her digital info product she sells with just 3 steps that you can actually implement yourself in 2026 to actually make 5 million to scale your offers to 1 million, 2 million, even 3 million per month if done the right way. So let's just get started. Now, there are exactly 3 steps that you want to be understanding or thinking about. These 3 steps are traffic, nurture, and conversion. So in order for you to actually start selling, you actually have to have some sort of traffic. If it's organic or paid, it doesn't really matter. Now let's just quickly dive deep into like what Shelby actually has right now. Now Shelby has both the combination of organic and paid ads. So she has a 1.5 million followers on her IG. She has 30K, almost 30K on her YouTube, and then she has about not like 830K on TikTok. On top of that, she also runs ads, and not just ads. She has run over 490 creatives that she has been testing, and obviously this is just by both active and non-active. If you really check into it in her active list, she has a lot of ads running too for the webinar funnel. Now, why a webinar funnel converts the best is because in the current state of info in 2026, people don't seem to just trust based off some sort of video or some sort of 10-second short clip that they watch. They want to see more, and they want to actually believe in these 3 principles. And if you have these 3 principles dialed in, that's when you actually make those sales. So if you make them believe that you are the person that can actually help them solve that specific problem, they will actually buy from you. If you actually help them that the mechanism can help them solve their problems, then they will actually buy from you. And most importantly, they'll have to believe in themselves. So if you can crack these 3 things and 3 perspectives, they will definitely buy from you. Now, this is a combination of organic and paid ads. So what happens is she drives all of them to a webinar landing page, which is like, if you click on this, it gets redirected here. It has like, it qualifies if, who this is for and who this is not for. It also talks about this. And this is just her webinar landing page. And she has like an opt-in. So basically, you'll have to give your first name, email, address, and then phone number for email sequences and SMS sequences, just for the fact that you can actually show up. She actually keeps reminding and gives you nurture email so that you can show up to the webinar. And the final thing is obviously to make sure that you actually accept the confirmation page and make sure that you actually add the event to your calendar so that you also get reminders from your Google Calendar as well. So this is the thank you page. Although her thank you page can be a bit more advanced, maybe she could explain what they would be getting, maybe explain the VIP ticket kind of thing, that how Brooke Hitting does. It's just to incentivize them to actually hop on the webinar, and also some FAQs that they can actually get to know before they actually hop on the webinar, so that objections are handled more cleanly. So this is actually the first main step. That is the traffic step. Without traffic, obviously you cannot make any sorts of money or even analyze data of like what's actually happening in business as well. So that's step 1, traffic. Now if we go into step 2, that is the nurture sequences. Now obviously, from what I've seen so far, I have also registered myself for the webinar just to see if she, shoots some SMS or not. I'm not sure if she, kind of sends SMS, but I've gotten multiple emails, averaging about 3 emails each day till across 5 to 6 days till the live event shows up. She has different sorts of, email sequences where she talks more about like, when the webinar is, and the webinar reminder, 1 hour webinar reminder, and then 30 minutes, and then after the webinar starts, and so on. Okay, now the main point for why she needs to have this dial in is so that they actually show up to the webinar, because the main conversion aspect and the point that happens from them actually going from just a specific traffic person to actually buying something from them is only when they actually hop on the webinar, because that's when they actually go through something and they actually believe in these 3 principles again that I can repeat. So these 3 principles are, they'll have to believe in the person, they'll have to believe in the mechanism that they teach, and they'll have to believe that they can do it themselves. If not, they're not going to purchase. So that's the nurture sequence process. But not exactly nurture, it's just to make sure that they actually show up. The actual conversion and nurture sequence process takes place on the webinar itself, where she actually sits down, she explains, the entire business model for two types of people, obviously, because she also runs paid ads. So there's going to be people who are not problem aware. They actually don't know the business model of high ticket sales as well. So she educates them. And at the same time, she also gives them free value. And she actually shows that she can be that person who can actually teach this business to actually make them a lot of money. And that's the thing. And what happens here on the webinar is a 45-minute to 1 hour 20 to 1 hour 30 minutes. Preferably, you just have a pitch till 1 hour, because you want to retain most of them who actually register to the webinar till the end of the webinar, so that you can actually pitch them and they can actually book those calls. Now, once you actually pitch them, the point here is it's going to be where you actually fill in some sort of form. It's more of like a qualification form. She asks some questions like, your first name, last name, where you're located, what's your phone number, how old are you? These are questions that she can actually get from the lead. And she also can find out how her webinar is doing with every lead qualification process. Based on this, what happens is they actually book in this Calendly call. I'm not sure if she uses Calendly, but usually Calendly is used for actually booking on a call. Now, the thing is, she also quotes that she's actually gonna make sure that these people are gonna hop on a call with a She Sells graduate. Now, this is another touching point, because what happens here is a graduate can actually tell you more about the program, and it also gives more social proof that they have actually been that person who has been at the same position as you, and they have actually purchased this program, and now they're actually making money by actually doing high ticket sales. Now she has her best reps from her academy, make sure that she makes sure that they actually hop on that call, they actually close deals, and most importantly, it's much easier to handle objections, because now they're directly coming from the program itself. So they can actually talk to someone who has been in the program. And this actually increases her close rates by at least 10 to 15%. And once the form qualification is done and the call funnel is done, obviously the closer, what they have to do is just make sure that they collect cash on the call. It's not 9.5K, I'm pretty sure it's like 6 to 6.5K her ticket price. But that's the entire process for people who actually show up to the webinar. Now, in order to make sure that they actually show up to the call, you also have, call email sequences or SMS sequences, just to make sure that they actually show up to the call, because we just do not want them to book a call, but to also show up to the call. They already pre-sold on the fact that Shelby actually taught them on the webinar. Now it's just about closers just having to collect cash and make it much easy, so that Shelby can actually make that money. Now, this is for people who actually show up to the call. Now, what if people who actually didn't show up to the webinar, what do they actually go through? So basically, after the webinar, there is something called as the post-webinar emails, where they showcase student results, they give some sort of emotional emails, just to trigger some sort of emotion, make sure that they can actually see these emails. They're redirected to two types of VSL that she's actually running. This one is the short VSL, and this one is the long VSL. This long VSL, essentially, I think it is for people who actually didn't show up to the webinar itself. I think it's just the webinar replay, but it's just coded as a entire free training. Now, the point of this is, even if they don't show up to the webinar, they are supposed to watch this VSL, and they are supposed to fill out this Typeform at the. I mean, usually we use Typeform. That's why I just say Typeform. This is not a Typeform. This is just an embed of a form that she has. Essentially, I think it's just GHL. And then once they fill out this form, they can just go book on a call with some sort of closer, which is She Sells graduate. And then once that She Sells graduate actually hops on the call, it's just game over. She just has to handle some sort of objection, make sure that she can actually close them. The point of just closing them is to genuinely make sure that you can actually sound like you can help them, just guide them to such a way that you can actually close them. And what happens here is, you don't want to close them in such a way that they actually buy the program, just sort of missing out, and then later regret, and then charge back. The point of it is, whenever someone buys a program, you should have a dialed-in onboarding process, just so that they have to get their quick wins, they have to start learning ASAP, so that once they saw some sort of win, they can justify their buying with that specific win. If not, it's just going to result in dispute. And that's the most important thing. Even after making all these sales, you want to make sure that onboarding process is also dialed in. This is just a simple mechanism of how Shelby actually makes 5 million per month with her info product. Now, the thing that you want to realize is why this model is one of the best models in 2026 is because webinar funnels are the best funnels for you to actually make sure that you can convert. Now, people were running, call funnels and stuff. Yes, it can work to a certain extent. It requires a lot of optimization, yes, with the VSL and stuff. But webinars are the most efficient way to scaling businesses because you can hit cold traffic and warm traffic at the same time, and you can talk to both audiences under the same live event, which is the webinar. Make sure you can pitch them on the call, and the nurture sequences is so dialed in on the webinar. What happens eventually at the very end is that they just book a lot of calls and then they just sell at the very end, and then boom, you just eventually make 5 million just that way. If this is something that you want to, if you want to see more of these breakdowns of any other creators, drop them below. And if you also want help with setting up these systems, DM me Scale on IG, and then we can see if we are fit. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care.